So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Um, Welcome everyone here to come to the Gunya Foundation Gallery tonight here, and to attend the first talk organized by Journal Uklaring on the topic of photojournalism. I'm Benny, and I'm tonight's moderator. I'm here to replace Jasmine, who can't be here tonight, but tonight's event, we are glad here to be here to have Oswald with us tonight, Oakland's photographer and graphic designer, to share with us the expertise on photojournalism. So please welcome Oswald.
Thank you, Benny. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for making it. So today, I'm going to be talking about my experience, um, the what it takes to photograph these events. Okay, and so we begin. So I will embark on a journey and in exploring photojournalism within the sacred space of church events. But before I go into that, I would like to also show some of my other work that I do. Okay. So when I first began, how my love for photography began, it was the summer of 2008, and I picked up my sister's digital camera that was gifted to her, and I started taking photographs. And in that summer, every summer we usually go to the beach, and we spend like a week. We stay there, and we would spend family time at the beach. And this is one of my favorite beaches in Goa. And that summer, it was polluted, and I photographed this image, and I sent it to the local newspaper, which is O Heraldo, and they published it. And I guess not knowing, I think journalism has always been the way I see things to tell the story, and so I guess that this was the beginning of my love for photography and journalism, and so it began. So before I go into that, I would like to show you the other photographs that I take. So this is landscape. Okay. There's snow monkeys in Japan. The elephants I took in Sri Lanka. And then portrait. I do food photography. This is a photo essay I did with a friend. It just shows a few, but it's a long photo essay of him preparing this French bread. And some photos on Macau. Okay, so coming to photojournalism. So the essence of photojournalism is the art of using photography to tell a story, document events and experiences in a way that is both informative and engaging. It goes beyond simply capturing an image. It aims to convey the essence of a moment, its emotions, and its significance. Then, what are the challenges of covering church events? It's about balancing observation and participation. Usually when you are in a certain place, you don't try to walk around and when people are in prayer and disturb or make noise and then the other thing is usually churches have very dim lightings, and so capturing is quite a challenge because you need to really slow down your shutter speed, which can eventually blur the image, or you need to buy really expensive lenses that can open up and what you call the aperture, and so this way you can let in more light. And again, you got limit movement, and then you have to be sensitive, have cultural be mindful of the religious practices and traditions. Ethical considerations. Ethical considerations are paramount in photojournalism, especially in sensitive settings like church events. Obtaining prior consent, respecting privacy, and editing responsibly. So before you do, you always try and get accreditations. So you got to apply or seek permission and make sure that you're allowed to take photos in the church or attending events. Then the rewards of storytelling. In Macau, at least as a photojournalist, I feel that we get to capture this rich history of the Catholic faith in Macau. It provides a window in Macau and for years to come, and even internationally, to show this strong Latin faith that's in Macau, and then this also helps to share stories, and lasting, spark conversation and with other people and so on. So my role in clearing. I've been in clearing for 10 years, and thankfully, working with clearing, I've had a vast experience of doing local events and traveling internationally, getting familiarized to see how other photographers and big press media, how they operate, and have the opportunity to talk to them and ask them questions. And so the experience has been really, really great for me, which I would like to show you. Capturing the space. When I first started working in clearing, I started photographing the churches of Macau. I started making articles by photographing the altars and the paintings and statues, and writing the history about the church. I had hoped to have done it, covered all the churches, but somehow and it never happened, and just managed to do a few. But this is how it started, and I've always loved architecture, and so this is one of my first projects that I started doing for clearing when I started working for them. And then these are architectural photos of churches around the world that I have photographed. So, like religious paintings, for example, and stained glass, they are a way of depicting and telling stories in the past to illiterate people who wouldn't be able to read the Bible, and then and eventually grew as a form of art, and you see it all over Europe in a lot of the Gothic churches and stuff. Capturing faith. So I have categorized this as local events, people, and international events that I've covered. Macau's, so this is some of the articles that I've done, and I've just put a few. So, Catholicism in Macau was introduced by the Portuguese missionaries during the 16th century. It was brought by the Jesuits, as we all know, um, and and Catholicism became deeply ingrained in the Macanese culture, influencing traditions, customs, and religious practices. Catholic festivals and celebrations are an integral part of Macanese cultural life, such as the Easter, the Our Lady of Fatima, and so on. And honestly, I feel we should be also thankful to the Macau government for giving us allowing religious freedom, because the way we celebrate it over here is really grand, and we should really be thankful to them for this, that people in Macau and tourists and everyone that visit get to witness this this grand feast. This is Our Lady of Fatima. This is in St. Lazarus Church. So, and then I wanted to showcase the faith, the people attending, like what it means to the people in Macau. These events, and you have the sacraments. And one of the another beautiful thing about Macau is that we um, celebrate diversity, and also so does the church. We have so many cultural events for the migrant workers, and for people that, Vietnamese and all these minorities. Um, the church caters to them as well. International events. This is the World Youth Day. The World Youth Day is, if for those who may not know, is an event that takes place every 2 to 3 years, and you have like between 3 to 5 million people that gather all over the world that come to a particular place to celebrate these events. And for me, in my experience, is that is witnessing the energy of the youth. Um, you as adults in every generation thinks that the next generation is spoiled and they have no hope in, they don't, in the next generation. But when you go to these events, you see the energy of this youth, and it kind of gives you hope in for the future. And so I wanted to capture that energy. So this World Youth Day that I attended was in 2016, and at that point, in that year, we had the Euro Cup, and Portugal had won the Euro Cup. But then you had this trend of the clapping, for those of you who know, and so the youth, from morning till night, you would hear them do the clap. It was done by the Iceland team, and it was the end, and you feel the energy from the youth when they do this. It was so this is on the last day of the event, where you have 3 to 5 million people gathered in an open field, and they camp. Yeah, so they come the previous day. You have the vigil, they camp, and then the next day you have the final mass, and the event comes to a close. And this is a photograph I took early in the morning. Some people sleeping, some they were awake. But it was really interesting because in 24 hours, I went through heat, cold, heat, and then rain, and it's crazy because the youth, they stayed in the open all through it all, and it doesn't bother them. They don't care. It's and this and it's amazing that they do it for the faith, you know. This is my these are photographs from Japan when the Pope visited. Life beyond the church. So this chapter is to show that Catholic life or the religious life does not only belong in the church. There is also life beyond that. So they pray, or they get together with communities and they worship. They sing and dance, right? They eat pizzas, and right? They take selfies. They do their shows and sometimes perform magic. They can be fashionable or be marshals. So there's many roles outside the church. These are people that I made a section to talk about that go unnoticed. These are people that are very important for the church, that help that help the church with your daily mass, and we don't often see them or take note of them, but they are there, and because of them you are able to go to church, or if you have a big event, we are taken care of, we are kept safe. And so like an altar boy, or like my friend that died recently, but he worked at the Basilica of Bon Jesus in Goa. He would wake up at 5 a.m. and take care of the entire basilica, and it's huge. And he would take care of the church, the archives, everything. And so he would be busy from morning till night. And these are people that you don't see, but are very important in preserving and taking care of the church. Right. So these are people that when you attend big events, Catholic events, they are there, and they make sure that you're safe. And with that, yeah, they come to an end.
So, thank you, Oswald. Here comes the Q&A session, the question and answer. Do we have any question at all? Or maybe I have one. Maybe I'll go first. Say, Oswald, do you have like any special equipment while you're doing photojournalism?
So, well, when you do, I feel like when you do events, especially, in my experience, you need to at least have 2 cameras with you. Sorry, one because you have different lenses, and so if you have one and you need to change, there's a chance. It happened to me as well. Like you miss a moment, and so you always need to be prepared for these events, like of whatever's going to happen in front of you. So imagine the person is far away, or the Pope, for example, when he's far away, you use a telephoto or a zoom lens, But then he's in a Pope Mobile or whatever, and they come by fast. So you need to have another camera to shoot for a closer range, because if meanwhile you start to change your lenses or whatever, you might miss the shot, right? So it's important to have at least two cameras, two lenses minimum, so that you are prepared to capture something that's like far and near. Of course, you can. I have managed with one lens where you try to use a zoom lens, what do you call? But usually zoom lenses, what you have is the aperture, which is not very widely open, yeah, or in technical terms, where you need to have a fast lens, which is like allows in more light. But the zoom lenses usually do not allow that, and if you do, it's very expensive to buy. So you have what you call prime lenses, which is like a certain focal length. And so if you're using that, then it's important to at least have two cameras, if not a very expensive lens. Um, so yeah, so I would say now I use two cameras, and to be prepared with at least two lenses of different focal lengths, so that we are prepared for events. Because events, things happen very fast, and you just have to be prepared. It doesn't wait for you. You cannot stop.
Very much. Right.
Thank you, Oswald. Is it important, or how important to have a good camera or some cameras and good technique to be a photographer of a newsletter? Because nowadays the student in the schools, they experience to be a photographer for the newsletter in the school by using smartphone.
Yes.
And even they use the smartphone to make some videos.
Right.
So what do you think about it? Or
I
using
think
the smartphone? Yeah. Okay.
I think smartphones are amazing nowadays. The technology. That's why I always tell people, I advise to people when they ask, "Oh, what camera should I buy?" And I say it's the one in your pocket, because the camera nowadays take really high resolution photos, very good quality, and most of the time, people talk about megapixels. Megapixels is just information on the on a given image, right? And the higher megapixels means that you click this, you print this size photos, and most people do not print photos. They have it on their computer or your phone, and you never print it. So, or you upload it to the web, which again you don't need really high quality photos. So I always say that a mobile phone nowadays is more than enough. Especially the modern ones, they do an amazing job, and it just keeps getting better. Of course, if you have a professional camera, it helps, because it will never be the same as a professional camera, the quality, but it's close enough, and it keeps getting better, So yeah.
Thank you, Oswald. Is there any more questions?
Thank you for the demonstration. One thing I'd like to ask is, if you are a photographer and you want to go to a major event like the World Youth Day or any other things, can you go by yourself, or do you get invited first in order to be able to join the team?
So again,
what I'm trying to say is that if I would like to take a picture, like for example the Pope, sure I cannot come so close. I have to get a light I have to get approved by authorities and so on. Are you invited by the person, or do you just apply in order to get there?
we apply, so when, for example, the World Youth Day or papal visits, we obviously know that the event is happening in advance, and and then we go to there's always an official website for these events. And so through the website, you have to go and apply for accreditation. And in order to apply for accreditation, you have to also prove details of your company, the company you work for, the newspaper, show proof that you are printing, you're taking photographs, all those kind of things, like some kind of proof, and other kind of whatever, like your passports and other information that they ask for. So you fill it in, you send it to them, and then you wait for their reply. So far, most events that we have covered, we've always gotten accreditation, even though we are a small newspaper in Macau and in a very small newspaper. But we've been fortunate to get accreditation for these events. So there's always a website online, and you have to go and fill in your details. Now, if you're a freelancer, I don't know what is the criteria, but how you can go about. But I think if you are a freelancer and you already have published a few photos and things like this, I think you can send it as proof that you are with your, as long as it has your name, right, credited to you. So, yeah.
Is there any more questions that would like to?
First of all, I'm very happy to be here. My name is
Thank you.
Vicente, and you Oswald. And from what I saw, your photographs and your description of the photographs in the performance in each moment, it depicts the collaboration between church and you, and the target is also to show to the public. We never hide the photos. Photos should be published and to show to everyone, not only in Macau. One thing I want to curiosity to ask you, all your 10 years, which you said, would you pursue more 10 years declaring a newspaper, and would you publish a book? And besides the book, will you do some video and photos, like a small movie depicting all your work in summarizing of those 10 years? So at least on the perspective of a narrator, a writer, a photographer, it have a combination of all details in one, what you call tom yum goong in China, in Thailand, tom yum goong soup. So all the ingredients are there, and people will say your uniqueness, originality, and I believe that you have a dream. Things doesn't happen by circumstance, by hypothesis, by me suddenly. And I just want you to answer what I just asked you. Three things: the book, a video or exhibition, so the people, Chinese and also other ethnicity, Portuguese, Macanese, will also know your work. Since you're also a member of Godamang Diu Association Macau, and our association will support you also. And I believe that it's a uniqueness that we stay in Macau.
Okay, so as an exhibition of my work, I've been planning to do it for a long time, and it's still in the works. Even my colleague, she keeps forcing me to do an exhibition. A book, I have thought of it, but still, I don't know if I'll ever publish a book as yet. Videos, maybe. So yeah, personally, but an exhibition is something I would love to do in the near future of all my work, not just journalism, but or maybe a mix of everything. But if you're asking in regards with Clarín as a thing, then we've had an exhibition, we have shown our photos, and we have continued to do so. We try to do videos when we can. We have published books in Clarín, but just not photo book. I think it would be amazing if we could do that someday, publish a photo book of all the years, not just my work, but I think of all the archives that we have, because we've had one of our colleagues, Keith, who's been archiving all these photographs into digital format. So it would be really nice if we could, actually first now we did 75 years, but it didn't happen. Maybe for the next Jubilee, I guess we could have a book, 100 or whatever. a book of all the photographs of important events, at least that we've taken over the years and covered. Yeah, it's a very good point, and I hope we could do that someday. Yeah. Yeah.
Publicity, a lot of publicity with other works. Your works can be considered as a stepping stone in a big wide ocean, poetry or poems, to be challenging and beat your own status with other photographers in Macau.
Yeah.
Because we see a lot of photography exhibition in Macau all these 10 years in Macau, more than 20. But this is my first time to see uniqueness, sharpness connected to the church also. And I believe the church really do need someone like you, since you work there. It would be
Thank you,
nice,
yeah.
really, to the population in Macau.
Thank you. Yeah. Hopefully.
Thank you, Oswald. And I would like to two questions. First, we work for the church event, and we always find that many people they use their cell phone, or even someone they bring their professional camera to take photos or videos all around in the event. But we are the official camera. And what is your technique to escape they step in your shot? Do you have any techniques
To get the
to
shot?
avoid they step in your shot?
Oh.
The
Well,
second
always-
question,
Oh.
the second question is, you know, OpenAI and even Copilot, they make AI pictures as a very professional. And what is the effect of your camera job?
Okay, so to answer the first one, I think if you don't want people to step in front, then I guess sounds cheesy, but to be in front, always trying to be in front. But the best thing would be is to, I mean, in Macau, I think it's very easy to get accreditation, or you inform in the cathedral or whatever, you go and tell them, can I be a photographer? Because there are so many, I think even those who are non-Catholics or whatever still come and take photos. So, and they do it officially, and so I think it's very easy. If you really want to do it professionally for your hobby or whatever, I guess it would be you approach the church, and I guess you can get accreditation to take these photos. Secondly, but then if someone steps in or whatever, it's part of photography. I mean, even us as photographers, we experience that someone suddenly walks in, and if it happens, it happens. Thankfully, we are in the digital world, and we can still keep taking as many photos, right? And we don't lose film, or it's fine. It's not expensive nowadays than before. So the second question is about AI. Well, AI is there, here to stay, and of course, if people are afraid of AI because of like photo that you can manipulate nowadays and stuff like that, but I think Photoshop has been around since 1990 or whatever, and you could always manipulate photos. But photographers have still been around, and they've still taken photos. However, you cannot manipulate a photojournalistic event, like if there's a war happening or a church event happening at the moment. You cannot ask AI at this moment, can you generate, like for example, we will have Good Friday. You cannot ask AI, can you generate images of that Good Friday? The images that are captured on that day will be authentic and real and everything, right? So AI cannot take over the things, this sort of stuff. So I can, like, even if I asked AI to generate an image of Good Friday that's going to happen, it will never give you an accurate result. And again, as a photojournalist or as a photographer, I mean, using AI, how do I put this? I mean, you got to be true to yourself, to your work, right? And especially in photojournalism, you capture the truth. And if you are going to manipulate things, then it's very, very unethical of someone, right, to change things. And these are things that you could always do it. It's just that AI makes it much more easier with a few texts. But for photography will, I think, still carry on, and I don't think it will affect much. I don't know if I was able to answer the question, but
Hello.
yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your great work. I'm
Thank you.
also a photographer,
Yeah.
so I graduate as a photographer in my bachelor. So my question it's how do you see the photographer work in the future? So as we know, technology has been increasing, and we also know that everyone can be a photographer. As I have also many questions about the photographer. People take photos with the phone. So we know that we have a lot of competition with this case. Like we go to some event, of course, there can be some similar photos, but in your idea, how do you see the photographer in the future? Do you believe that we will have much work to do, or do you believe that it's going to be difficult for us being as a photographer?
I think it's as an artist in general, whether you're a photographer or whatever, it's getting difficult. It's difficult being an artist because your value of your work has now more and more, because of AI and all these things, is more and more undermined. People don't value what you do enough. But sorry, your question. What was your question?
Do you believe that as a photographer in the future, it's going to be, it's going to keep in working like, before, in a few years ago,
I
photography
think
is,
so. Yeah. So photography, I think, will carry on. It's just that, like I said, it's people. I mean, nowadays do not value work of an artist as much as they used to before. Whether there is a future on, like, I think, like I was saying, like photojournalism is something that you will always have to do it, which AI will not be able to generate. So it will always be there. You want to take a portrait of your friend or of a wedding or whatever. This is something that you would have to do it. AI will not be able to generate this kind of things. And even if you want to say put into a scene, then you have to feed it with all this kind of information. It takes a lot of work. But the moments that happen right now is something that AI cannot, at least at this moment, cannot take it. So I think we still have a future. And I think with the age of social media, I think we have so much more opportunity than before. Before you had what I was talking to a friend the other day, as artists or whoever, we had gatekeepers. You wanted to be an actor or a singer or whatever, you had to go through people, and if they allowed you to become something. Nowadays with social media, you can sing or take photos or act or do video editing and post it to social media, and you have an audience, and people big. And now you have so many famous celebrities who have become famous through social media. So there is a future, but I think it's about how creative you can be and how you're willing to break these boundaries and do something that's different from what everyone else is doing. And if you can find a way to be different and find different creative ideas, of course, and I'm also a believer in a way that you can also use AI to help you actually in a way to make your work better, to make it to make it easier. Like, for example, if I want to do videos and I want to be a video editor, I can do it now myself, and also use like you can be independent, and I can do video editing and all these things with the help of AI. But creativity is something that will always remain, and it all depends how creative you are and how you showcase yourself.
thank you. I agree with you. It's being creative and your storytelling.
Thank you.
You are the only one. It's your work. You are the only one can tell what you think and what you see and
Yeah.
what you want people to know.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, following by that gentleman's word, everyone can be photographer. Um, what do you think about what's it different, or what you have to do, which is different from the other people, to be a photojournalist of a church media?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
What's it different, or what you have to do more than or different from the other people to be a photojournalist?
For the church.
Yeah, for the church media.
So, like if you have to cover any topic, and in this case, the church it's important to understand first the Catholic faith, right? Have a basic knowledge of what happens, because when you go to church, for example, a daily mass or a mass service that happens, you need to know what happens next. Okay, the so and so thing will happen, or you have the communion, or you should understand or be aware that, okay, be knowledgeable of what's going to happen in order to capture these moments. If not, if you're unprepared, obviously you cannot. So to come to your question, to simplify it, I think is about having the knowledge of the faith, and then when you do have the knowledge, it's easier to photograph it. Like for example, we attend now these events of the Lent, the processions, right? That happens every year. We know how the flow is, or how it goes, right? You have the mass and then the procession, and which way they go and which road they take, and what happens next, and which stop they make, and all these things. So you're aware of all these things. So you're already mentally prepared. For me, also, after doing this for so many years, okay, if I'm in this location and at this time and at this spot, I can get this photograph. So it's about doing this repeatedly, constantly doing it for every year, and also having the knowledge.
Thank you so much for sharing all your beautiful photos and capturing all the moments. And I think it's very important for all of us, not just to document it, but also to show the culture to those who are unfamiliar with this particular aspect. So you've mentioned that you've been doing photojournalism for the past 10 years. And we've seen also the evolution of normal camera to digital camera, and now to iPhone. So now my question is, in fact, to you. You've mentioned that you have to know the faith. You have to be faithful, or at least know what is going on. So how did this help you grow in the past 10 years of being a photojournalist? And what can you share us in terms of your growth evolution as a photographer? Because I know you're a great designer as well.
Yeah.
And I've seen that you're a person with many talent, and so and I think this is an additional one in your portfolio.
Yeah. So my evolution.
How did you see this particular path help you grow
As a photographer.
as a photographer and as a person, perhaps in your faith as well? Because I know you're very faithful. And in addition to that, you're also within this particular realm of religious activity. Mm-hmm.
So when I was putting this presentation together, I was going through, I went to so many photographs. And obviously the ones that I took in the beginning, you realize it's really awful. And it's again because of the equipment I had to begin with, and then the knowledge and the experience of photographing these events. But then as you keep doing this, you start to understand how things move around. But also, I've been actually when you had the procession of the Good Jesus procession, I've been sharing these photographs that I took with my friends because I really appreciate as like the faith in Macau, of how strong the faith is in Macau, the Catholic faith, and the influence of the Latin culture in Macau, and obviously whenever I go to these processions or to these things, and when you have the police band when they start playing, it really feels solemn and grand, and it connects you in a way, and it makes I get emotional, to be honest, when the music starts playing, and it makes you contemplate on how solemn Christ is, and how big he is, and the importance and the reverence that the Church of Macau and the Catholic faith gives to God, and so every time it's during this Lenten season, especially with these events, it helps me to reflect and to appreciate the faith even more.
Just to conclude, one more thing is, all your photos that you've taken, all these 10 years, do you have any sadness or happiness related to each photo or not? Or it's completely cold towards the photo that you take? Because I do know that people take photos and they cry. They take photos, they laugh. Because that moment is more important, whatever brand photo camera you're carrying on. The moment, the second, split second, is the moment that you show the photo to everyone. And I'm asking you, as a photojournalist, and before non-photojournalist, do you have any feelings toward the photos that you take, that you remember the occasion, that really make you cry, tears, or make you laugh? This is the most important question I'm asking you. I want to know from you towards all 10 years of photographs that you had.
So, in my first assignment, I mean, having the opportunity to begin with to see the Pope, who is the successor of Peter, right, is always a really big thing. And I think generally Catholics all around the world would, wait for this moment to witness this moment, to see the Pope, right, to see the successor of Peter. And so for me, it was one of those things that I always wish, that I hoped I would be able to see, and especially Pope Francis, because I really like him, as I'm a big fan of Pope Francis, and so when we went as a family on a family trip to Rome, I hoped to would see him, but I didn't, of course, because he wasn't in Rome at that time. But then 2 or 3 years later, he came to Philippines, and I had the opportunity to go and photograph that event. And of course, when he passed by in front of me and I took his photos, I cried. I had tears rolling down my eyes, because it was a moment I had witnessed, and it really touched me a lot. And so that was one of the most emotional moments. That I had. Happy moments, so many. Especially for me, I think the highlight was going to the World Youth Day and photographing so many millions of people in a place. Feeling the energy, photographing, interviewing the youth, and hearing their stories from all different parts of the world, and how they made it over there. They would make rosaries and sell and raise money. So it was more about these stories that would touch me, and then of course I would photograph, of course, that you cannot always tell them from the image, but it's the stories behind that image that was really touching me in the World Youth Day, at least when I was, because it's very free and you can walk around and take photos, and you meet all these people. So it was such a beautiful experience, like that. So the high, whatever. There were no lows. I think both were highs, but definitely.
Sorry, just after Sia, we will going to have one more question. Okay, so please, Sia.
Okay, and follow-up questions. As you said, you have worked for 10 years as a photographer. Do you have any, sometimes, because Macau event is repeat every year, do you think sometimes you will feel boring,
and how to how to let you find keep your freshness for the routine photography job in Macau church?
That's why I said, like, if I was saying earlier, like, if I look at my first photographs, they were really, now looking back, I look at them and they were really bad photos. But then over the years, you start to understand the ceremonies better. And you try to, you as a creative and as a photographer, you look for creative angles. And you have to force yourself, otherwise they're from last year and this year, the images are more or less the same. So, and of course, some days you will have a sunny day and a gloomy day during this procession. So the light again plays a huge factor when taking these photos. And so all these moments. So every year when you take photos, somehow they are always going to be different. And it's always important to find different creative ways to take, and you'll always actually you find yourself in different spots and places. The more you do it, the more I think it just gets better, and you find yourself being in different places and angles, and sometimes you would shoot through people, or you will find something that will happen, and you find a creative way of taking this picture. So I don't think it gets boring. For me, it just gets better, and you have an opportunity. I think gives you another chance every year to take photos differently, and like imagine if I wanted to take this year, or I realize, oh, this, I wish I'd taken it in this way, but the moment is gone and you couldn't. Maybe next year you have a chance to prepare now for the following for the next year, and so you can take the photo again and be prepared to take from that angle, or however you want to take it.
Right, so we're going to add the very last question. Anyone?
I'm sorry.
Thank you for all the sharing. I was just wondering, like, if all these experiences you are showing what you have done and what you've learned. I was wondering if in the future, two questions here. You'll be sharing that to maybe small groups of aspiring photographers. Because one thing is not just to use the camera, the technical part, but it's to know where the object, where the focus, how will they learn about this would be good for lighting, or making a good shot, work it out. When somebody sees that photo, they could say, this is a good shot.
Right. So your question is if I will give a class or talk?
Like sharing or workshop.
Well, today was...
No, I mean, not just this one.
Yeah.
But like sometimes because of skill, so maybe there are some people who would like to learn it gradually. It's to develop their own creative mind as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes they need some coaching.
I definitely would like to do that as well. At the moment, nothing in my mind, but I'm happy to have given this talk as the first step. But I would also, at some point, love to teach and share my photography knowledge of how to capture photos, but nothing that I've planned as of now. But if people are, of course, are interested and they want to talk to me about photography and learn, I'm always happy to meet and share and talk to them. Or I don't know. Maybe we'll have to organize Rikunya's foundation a photography session or something like this to teach young youth or whatever photography.
Right, thank you very much. So, Oswald, to round up the presentation you just given us, what do you have in mind to talk to say to our fellow journalists, photographer, photojournalist? What do you have in mind or a few words to talk to them to tell them?
I think to a fellow photojournalist, I don't know, just take authentic, truthful photos. Uh, yeah, uh, yeah. Honestly, because media sometimes can be deceiving and they manipulate as well, as much as you'd want them to be honest. And I just think it is important to take share the truth. Um, and the other thing that I wanted to say, to share the truth and usually, a lot of times we try. I mean, not in my as journalists, and we always look for bad news. I feel always, because that's what draws attention. But I've always loved the idea that when the journalism should also be about good news, like things that happen, because good news gives hope for people, and I just think bad news. This has been my philosophy that it makes people scared and doesn't give hope for the future, and I always felt that if I became a photojournalist or covered news, that I would try to capture the good things that happen around us. So this way, it gives people hope. And that's why I think as a journalist, it's important to cover this kind of news. That's why I like working in CRED, to be honest, because a lot of times the news that we cover is good news, news of hope, and yeah, and love. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for Oswald for giving us our presentation. Thank you. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
So, the Bridging the Dialogue or Claring's exhibition tour is a continuation of the main exhibition. And here in Kunya Foundation Gallery is our first stop of the tour, which is going to last for 2 weeks here until the 16th of March. So after that, we'll be traveling to different schools, local schools and university to continue our tour and to offer talks and classes on journalism as well. So thank you very much. And before the last few words I'm going to say, I would like to invite everyone to take a group photo. Should we just take here? Yep. Right. Sorry, can you put on some lights and maybe turn off the projector as well? Thank you. So thank you very much for coming tonight. And if there is any comments or anything you would like to let us know, please let us know through email or any social media platform. Okay. And so next Thursday, on the 14th of March, same time, 6:30, same place here. We will have our second talk on freedom in religious press. So please inform your friends, tell your friends, ask them to come. And that will be it for tonight. Thank you very much and good night. Thank you.